This is the Music Business Radio Behind the Scenes podcast. This week on Music Business Radio, Jeff Goins joined me in the studio at the WRLT Lightning 100 studios in Nashville, Tennessee. He's an author, he's a blogger, he's a former touring musician. I didn't know that. I actually found out about him through my project manager, Wendy Wallace. If that name sounds familiar to you, you may have heard her on the musicmarketing.com podcast, which we do, where we talk about the music business. She has been involved with me for several years. She started with me in 2006 and was the editor, content editor for my book, Six Figure Musician. So she knows the music business and she knows book marketing. And when she saw Jeff Goins and what he was doing with his new book, he's got a book and it is called The In-Between, Embracing the Tension Between Now and the Next Big Thing. We thought the philosophy was really great, but the way he was marketing it, that was really interesting. And she said, David, this guy's in Nashville. He's doing some pretty cool stuff with books that I think musicians can learn from. So brought him into the Music Business Radio studios. About that book, I saw him once she turned me on to him. He was maybe, let's say he was 6 weeks, a couple months away from the book launch. He did a huge pre-launch to really build hype for it. That's one of the things that we talked about and you can learn from. But I remember I saw an announcement saying that he had pre-sold something like 5,000 copies of this book. And I thought, okay, wow, that's fantastic. Can you imagine pressing 5,000 CDs, knowing that they're not going to be in your closet a few months or a year from now? Knowing that they're going to get out to the hands of people and people are going to be enjoying them. And certainly there's money that comes with that. So he was able to sell that before the book was even launched, like weeks before. And then once it was launched, he was able to build on that success because he had built a buzz and sell several thousand more. We talked about the parallels between the book business and the record business. We talked about parallels between authors and musicians. Since Jeff has done both, we talked about what musicians can learn from authors. Definitely songwriters talked about crafting a story and what makes a good story. We talked about his history as a musician, what he learned from being on the road. He's on the road for a solid year, doing as many as 3 gigs a day, got as far as Taiwan, if you can believe it. So some lessons from the road and getting along with people and just the psychology of people. We talked about passion versus calling. What is a calling? How do you know if music is just a passion for you or is it really a calling? Should you pursue it? We talked about how 99% of musicians don't hit it big. Is that a sign that maybe you shouldn't do it? Well, that's the kind of stuff that we went into. And also beyond that, taking the plunge, going from part-time to full-time as he did with first music and then eventually taking a shift from music to being an author. So he had to do it twice, knew a little bit something about that. And I think it was really, really great. I know that a lot of people, you're transitioning from your day job. You want to be music full-time. Maybe you're in music and you want to get out of music. You want to do like I did. I was a musician, then I went into the music business. And I know sometimes that's tough. I studied music for years. I did my first recording session when I was 5 years old. Studied music in college, playing after college. And you're thinking, wow, I've spent all this time. I've spent close to 20 years at that point. And do I really want to give that all up to pursue marketing music? Well, that's the kind of stuff that we talked about, and I think it's something that you're going to really, really relate to. Jeff put together a great bonus package to sell the book. That's how he was able to sell so many of them. It was really quite incredible. I think it's something that you're going to be able to take away from, use with your own music release. It's one of the things that we're seeing a lot more now. If you've ever looked at Kickstarter, you see these bonuses that people are giving because Kickstarter essentially is you buying something in advance before it's even created and giving the money right now so the author or the musician or the filmmaker or the creator can go and create that. So we talked about some tips that you can use for Kickstarter or just for launching your project, even if you want to just do it yourself and not go to people for the initial funding of it. We talked about breaking into a new business, what you can do to get connected, finding your audience. Really a lot of great things just as far as the business of being an author, the business of being a musician. There are not too many differences when you think about it. You have an idea, you've got something in your head, you want to get it on paper, or as a musician, you want to get it on a tape, some kind of recording of it, and you want to get people interested in it. So it was about building an audience, it was about selling your product, and it's about going big with your dream and turning it into more than just a dream, turning it into something that's more than even just a passion, but something that's your job. So if you're interested in that, Jeff Goins is his name. He's got a website. It's Goins, Goins, writer.com. Again, let me give you the book. It's The In-Between, Embracing the Tension Between Now and the Next Big Thing. It's available at Amazon, $10. I think it's worth it. I think it's a fantastic book. I wrote a review of it, actually, before I even had Jeff in at musicmarketing.com. So if you're interested in that, just go to musicmarketing.com. You can search for it. Check out the site, goinswriter.com. Check it out online. Let me give you that title one more time. It's a long one. The In-Between, Embracing the Tension Between Now and the Next Big Thing. And we're getting that show edited, and we'll have that released, if you're listening online, via musicbusinessradio.com. If you listen on broadcast radio, just check your local radio listings. We'll put a promo out the week before. And I will see you on the next Music Business Radio Behind the Scenes podcast.